Good morning. My name is Vicky Carlson, and as the president of the National Association for Court Management, it is my honor on behalf of the NACM board to present you with this inaugural version of the State of the Profession address. I want to thank Greg Lombard and the Governance Committee for their extensive work on this address. The State of the Profession address has been edited for time. The full version will become available to members soon. As the leaders of NACM, we strive to master the same competencies as you all. Some of you may recall NACM's strategic planning efforts from a few years ago. We went through a lengthy planning process to give our organization a renewed purpose and vision. One such recommendation from that effort was to be a better advocate for our members and our profession. As part of that recommendation, we identified what NACM's voice ought to include. Vision, providing strategic focus on the advancement of the field of court administration. Organization, leading the association in the pursuit of collective goals. Implementation, taking action and following through on strategic priorities. Communication, engaging the court community and justice partners. Ethics, demonstrating integrity and adhering to the highest ethical standards. It is probably safe to say that unless someone has had personal contact with the courts, the average citizen does not think too often about the impact of the judicial system on their daily lives. In most instances, this is probably a good thing, and it means we are doing our jobs effectively. Our role as court professionals is often to work quietly in the background, making that system work. Our goal is for citizens to know that they and their families can obtain justice when they are wronged, and that it is much wiser to have the system take care of these situations rather than taking justice into their own hands. As court professionals, we see the effect our system can have on individuals, families, and businesses. The manner in which our offices conduct our daily business and the competence in which we do so can be the difference between someone being denied their freedom or receiving effective access to justice. There are a myriad of circumstances that can be seen as barriers to justice. When you look at the individuals on the screen, as an administrator, your mind can float to any number of possible needs this woman might have that could get in the way of serving her. Can she speak and read English? Does she need childcare while she is in court? You know the list. Like ourselves, the citizens we serve lead complicated lives, and getting them what they need can have its own complications. Beyond the effect on individual customers, the field of court administration has an effect on society as well. The degree of professionalism and competence that court professionals display is crucial in keeping the judicial system legitimate in the eyes of the public. A tall order, to be sure, and the reason that we must ensure that the profession moves forward. We are striving to use the best data available, share practices, combine our brain power, and listen with compassion and concerns to the citizens we serve. Shortly, I will discuss the values that we use as the foundation of our profession, values that guide our actions, our thinking, and our communication with society. So when we think about that woman entering the courthouse, we must also be thinking of how to ensure that she is treated according to shared values. And equally important, once her case has been resolved, how do we ensure that the order is given the proper respect and follow-through needed to make it more than just words on a page? As referenced by Alexander Eichmann in The Art and Practice of Court Administration, modern court administration is not yet 2 generations old. In the early days of court administration, the tasks assigned to the administrator were only those not performed by the clerk of court. Administrators were brought in to relieve judges of the burden of budget administration, personnel management, and maybe some of the interbranch coordination efforts. The position has changed and evolved and grown along with the growth and increasing complexity of courts themselves. There is merit in examining court administration through a conceptual framework which should provide fresh thinking about our priorities when it is difficult to respond to all the internal and external demands on one's resources, or as Eichmann calls it, the hierarchy of court administration. We now serve as a liaison between the judicial branch and the other branches of government. NACM's core competencies provide us with a strong framework to move forward, to create and to expand our purpose and identity. Beyond dealing with the immediate issues that come through our doors, we also need to be proactive. For instance, are you ready for the multiple days without power or alternate sites available to hold court in the event your courthouse suffers from water, fire, and other natural disasters? We also need to be cognizant of the trends we see and be confident to offer our suggestions to those who can best assist. Through our voices and our profession, we can best help those we serve, both the court users and our judges. As administrators of courts, we must first assess the issues our communities place before our courts. One aspect of our role is to engage in critical conversations on these issues, which will lead to implementing solutions. The National Center for State Courts and the State Justice Institute have identified several key trends that as administrators, we must lead our courts in addressing now and in the near future. Advancements in technology and demands from our communities clearly require our courts to evolve with the changing times. Some of these trends include the use of online services, judicial data exchange, pretrial bail reform, digital evidence, judicial education, retention, storage, and restoration of the official court record, and sentencing reform. NACM, like the Conference of State Court Administrators and the Conference of Chief Justices, adopted a national agenda several years ago, which serves as a national platform for courts to address the growing needs and demands on our communities across the country, many of which have just been mentioned. Over the last several years, many studies conducted at local, state, and national levels reveal inequities, inefficiencies, and individual harm that may result from unconstitutional practices relating to bail and pretrial incarceration. In January 2018, COSCA and CCJ adopted a resolution on the principles of fines, fees, and bails practices submitted by the National Task Force, and NACM supported this resolution. Collectively, as court managers, we recognize the value of these principles and encourage and support courts to review and implement these principles in their courts. Collectively, as court managers, we recognize the value of these principles and encourage and support courts to review and implement the principles in their courts. We are well aware some courts may experience difficult challenges attempting to implement these principles, while yet recognizing how the assortment of these principles speak directly to the public's perception of our courts. One specific plea from our communities that has been heard and is being addressed is assistance to combat the opioid crisis in this country. Drug courts and treatment courts for our citizens is not something new this year or even this decade, yet its need has never been greater. We have made inroads in individual cases in stemming the tide of this epidemic. One viable practice is the utilization of medication-assisted treatment. A goal of courts is to identify defendants with substance abuse issues as soon as possible and determine a course of treatment quickly. Courts have partnered with local law enforcement to assist these offenders at the time of arrest. So what does the National Association of Court Management do for the profession of court management? Although an elected board of directors provides oversight, direction, and leadership to our members, it's the work of the committees that tie directly to the principles and practices of court administration on a daily basis. For starters, the Conference Development Committee serves as the educational body of the association in soliciting and selecting workshops that seamlessly revolve around a central theme, as well as those operational duties and responsibilities that tie directly to the line through the work that is court administration. NACM's Communication Committee has produced several guides in paper and electronic format that provide topical research analysis as well as best practice application on a variety of subjects, including the plain language documents for the self-represented interpretive services, business continuity and emergency action planning, and court security, to name a few. Additionally, NACM's Communication Committee produces educational webinars on topics such as those just mentioned and introductions to the essence of the profession of court management, the Nahum Core. The Core speaks to the foundation of our profession, requiring one to master the principles that instill public trust and a clear understanding of the purposes and responsibilities of our courts. The vision to show others our view of model courts through our leadership, and finally, integrating the principles and vision into successful processes and protocols in disciplines including case flow management, fiscal administration, workforce management, ethics, and outreach to the community. This is who we should be as court managers and what we should strive to address each and every day in our courts, the Nahum Core. NACM does not operate in a vacuum or go it alone. While maintaining a close connection with the Conference of the State Court Administrators and Conference of Chief Justices, this association continues to reach out to other like-minded court and legal organizations for the purposes of education and professional development of its members, for the latest court trends and ideas for improvements in the association. So I've mentioned the history and values of our profession, and I've touched on NACM's efforts to move our profession forward while improving our daily practices and working on the larger issues that the judiciary is confronted with today. In this era we find ourselves in, what else should NACM be doing? First, we need to realize our strength and value. We are the largest organization of court management professionals in the world. We have over 1,700 members from all over the country and world, and who work on all levels of the system. If the average length of service of our members is 10 years, that would equate to over 17,000 years of experience. There are tens of thousands of court employees in the country who have an effect on the lives of millions of Americans. Current NACM membership only comprises a fraction of these individuals. We need to continue to expand our outreach to court leaders to provide education opportunities and resources. We need to ensure that we hear from our members, all of you, and that their knowledge and experience is used to guide the activities of NACM. I am sure you are aware there are a great many court associations around the country. These associations represent states, regions, particular types of court staff, and various jurisdictions. All of these associations are engaged in teaching court staff, creating opportunities for individual growth, and all are very much concerned with advancing our field. NACM is poised to offer assistance to state and local court organizations through items like our core, partnering on conferences, and offering leadership seminars for new association leaders. There are doubtlessly more items like these that NACM can develop and pursue. NACM is also in the position to start discussion on topics important to the court system. For instance, it is perhaps time to renew the conversation on the role of court administrators. The times are calling for more from court administrators than the traditional roles of case management, personnel management, security, record retention, and so on. As I have mentioned earlier, the role of the judiciary has been evolving over the past 30 years. Ever since the development of drug courts and the subsequent development of other specialty courts such as veterans courts and mental health courts, the role of judges in the judicial branch of government has been expanding. Because our conservative climate, our high ethical standards, our focus on fairness and transparency, and the power of the bench, we end up in a unique position to facilitate system partners in collaborating with one another. The modern court administrator can facilitate meetings of system partners, bringing in judges as needed and available. NACM needs to ensure that court administrators are prepared for this role, that judges understand it, and that we leverage such partnerships to ensure that the public good is advanced at the same time the court's strategic plan is accomplished. Governance in the modern era demands greater efficiencies, and effectively pooling all of our partners' resources is key. NACM will continue to advocate for our profession and for courts in general. One of our strategic goals is that NACM will serve as the voice of the profession. What comprises the voice of an organization is the collection of ways the organization communicates. These include one-on-one conversation of members, information provided at conferences, training and webinars, websites, publications, resolutions, social media, and so on. Like an individual, the organization can speak alone or with others. The chance to, from time to time, join voices with others, with other related organizations can amplify the message. What would comprise the message relayed by the voice of NACM? That is first addressed by listening to the membership, all of you, dialoguing with other court associations, ensuring that institutional wisdom is maintained and utilized, listening to system partners, and finally, perhaps most importantly, listening to the citizens. A survey will be going out soon to our members to determine what issues you feel we should be taking a position on. In fact, there is a link to the survey available through the conference app. We invite you to fill out the survey when you have time this week. Once that survey is completed, NACM will choose one or several of these issues to promote its view on, with a corresponding strategy on how to project its voice. Relating back to the variety of communication methods available to the association, a particular issue may warrant a series of trainings, while another may require a coordinated media blitz. Another method NACM uses to advocate for the profession and the judiciary is through our resolutions. Often we support the resolutions that come from the Conference of Chief Justices and the Conference of the State Court Administrators, but we are looking for opportunities to craft original resolutions on topics of interest to all of you. We will also be looking to find partners to collaborate with on key issues. Partners could come from other court associations, research organizations, other branches of government, universities, industry, and so on. As one of the national leaders in court administration, but not necessarily with the restrictions that come with being part of a government entity, NACM can partner with a greater number and variety of entities, and this in turn can be used to benefit the court system as a whole. As I close, I know the moment you've all been waiting for, I would like to share a few remaining thoughts. George Washington once wrote that he was impressed with a conviction that the due administration of justice is the firmest pillar of good government. He took his role in appointing our nation's first judges with a solemn air. That is indeed both high praise and an even higher calling for all of us. An organization is only as strong as its members. And to be sure, our membership numbers have been higher and could be in the tens of thousands. But the strength of our voice for our profession is not based on numbers alone, but by the strength of our dedication to not only our court profession, but to the work that we do in our courts. Our members do countless acts of service, both inside and outside the courtrooms. We work early, we work late, and we sometimes even work when we are not getting paid because the judicial system must be operational. We go the extra distance for our customers. One day we may see the myriad of difficulties that our fellow humans go through, and the next day we may witness an adoption or a wedding. NACM represents you and those who follow in our profession. We hope that NACM's voice is your voice. The state of our profession is strong, built on a solid foundation, adheres to high principles, and stands ready to assist the judiciary in helping tackle some of our country's most intractable issues. NACM is proud to serve you and ask for your help as we use our voice, our experience, and our energy in working for a better future for our citizens. If you could please now complete, sometime this week or when you get home, please complete the survey on the app, and that will help guide NACM's voice going forward. Thank you.